Hi, I'm Zihao Zhang from Enterprise Artificial Program in Northeastern University. In this video clip, I'm going to introduce my research on noise pollution in New York City. In the next few minutes, you will see my explanation and analysis process from the following four perspectives. I will finally put forward some opinion on how to continuously develop the research on Noise Control Act based on several charts and maps I'm going to show you. As we all know, New York can be regarded as the most prosperous city in the world, just like the movies. The noise of New York can be seen everywhere. Citizens and vehicles are constantly flowing, mixed with the sound of mobile phones and speeches. And the rooftop party is noisy, as if it would never stop. Although the New York former mayor, Mr. Bloomberg, introduced the noise control measure during his tenure in 2007, the noise issues has gotten worse. According to the statistics from 311 survey, the number of noise complaints in New York City has been high, especially in recent years. It has been continuously growing. And when we look at previous solutions to the noise problem, we can also see a lot of questions here. For example, some researchers have suggested that construction sites, tourists, and traffic jams are major sources of noise pollution in New York's downtown area. Since the COVID-19 started from March this year in New York, commercial office, high-rise residential, tourism, and constructions market have all been negatively impacted. However, the 311 service has received nearly 300,000 more noise complaints this year than the last year. So based on the above questions, I will put forward my analysis goals from two aspects. First, I will compare the noise issues this year and last year by visualizing the 311 service request data. I'm going to figure out if there are any differences in noise issues under the influence of pandemic and whether the government agencies have made any improvements in solving people's complaints. Second, I'm going to analyze the features of noise issues this year, such as its complaints information and the time and geographical distributions. To analyze the above issues related to noise pollution, I used all the data on noise complaints since 2019 from the New York City 311 service requests. It can be retrieved from its website, New York City Open Data. I mainly considered the following attributes in my visualization analysis, like the noise complaints types and categories, the resolutions, and the time and geographical information. Let me start with the comparative analysis of noise issue from the past 2 years. Here are two bar charts about the most common categories of noise complaints. We can see that the main category of noise complaints are nearly doubled. And it may be due to the quarantine, the increased rate of residential noise is really obvious, but it's not difficult to find that the types of noise complaints have not changed significantly compared with the last year when there was no COVID outbreak. For example, the number of commercial noise went up even though the proportion went down. And the change of pandemic to noise pollution may lie in the noise sources. For example, in the second set of bar charts of noise resources ranking, we can see that loud music and parties are the main source of noise, especially this year. And the noise from car or truck music jumped to the third place this year. At the same time, there have been fewer complaints about construction noise. It indicates that home noise or the noise made by people is always the major issue. even in last year. And due to the quarantine, the negative impact of deliberate noise has been more exposed. The third pairs of charts shows the noise complaint resolutions. In 2019, we can see that nearly half of noise complaints were not resolved. But this year, while the number of noise complaints has almost doubled, the police department have increased the rate at which they resolve noise complaints. Given that there has been more residential noise this year, and it may account for the increased success rate of policy intervention. And next, I will show you the spatial and the temporal temporal distribution of this year's major noise sources. First of all, in terms of time, summer is the noisiest season, especially in June, and the 311 service received the most noise complaint based on the previous analysis of the noise source. It may be due to the increase in parties and outings caused by students' vacation and the start of school. Also, it's highly possible that there are more outdoor activities in summer, and such as construction and trips. And generally in summer, the days are longer and people have more time to be active. So when we look at this picture of the noise complaints at each hour, we can guess that the period after work until late at night is usually the time with the most noise complaints. And when we change the timeline to weekly, there's a lot of noise on weekends, since man-made noise is the main factor, and there will be more noise complaints during non-working hours and non-working days. But here is a problem. Not every types of noise may follow this pattern. Therefore, when we separate the timeline noise statistics according to the type of noise sources, we can see that only the noise made by loud music and parties have very significant temporal characteristics. And here are the different types of noise by month. We can see that the loud music and party uh, has the same characteristics as the overall noise distribution. And here is by weekdays, and that's the same. And it is by hours. So we can see that the temporal distribution of noise generated by parties and music is consistent with the one of overall noise complaints. So after summarizing the temporal distribution, let's go on to the spatial distribution of noise. We can see that the Bronx, New York, and Brooklyn are the cities where noise pollutions are most common. When we visualized it on a map, such as distribution features will become more obvious. For example, here is the spatial noise map, and the red color indicates that the area with the most noise pollution. So you can see that the entire uptown, midtown, and downtown of New York City are almost red, are almost covered in red, and the same in Bronx and Brooklyn. And when we look at the distribution of loud music and party noise, we can also verify our previous conclusion. And this noise source peaked during the summer month. We can say that the noise made by loud music and party started to increase significantly from May. And we can see during the summertime, there's a lot of noise made by loud music and party, especially in the New York City. And the noise source peaked during the summer, and that is consistent with the overall noise distributions. So, based on the above analysis, I will conclude the following points. First, noise from parties and loud music is the noise type that New York residents complain about the most. And second, due to the impact of the pandemic, man-made noise accounted for the majority this year. And third, noise was produced more frequently during the periods of high activity, such as summer or non-working time. And last, the noise is mainly distributed in New York City, Bronx, and Brooklyn. So, despite our findings, it doesn't prove that man-made noise is the main source because these data are resident complaints and can only reflect the level of noise tolerance of the average New Yorkers. So here I'm going to draw my proposal about how to deal with man-made noise and how to measure real noise in New York City and how to reduce them. First, I think the government need a New York City convention on civility that would encourage residents to be less active during the midnight. Although man-made noise is the major cause of complaint, governments can only improve with more advocacy and publicity, and the responsibility of government should lie in education, not regulation. And second, the government should reduce activities such as constructing during non-working hours, because party and music during non-working hours has already had a significant impact on residents' health lives. So it's more feasible for the government to reduce other sources of noise during this period. And last but not least, in order to measure environmental noise more effectively than just complaint from government service website 311, the government should design noise detecting sites in several key areas such as Bronx or New York City to monitor the source and volume of noise so as to prevent and control noise pollution more effectively. And that's my presentation. Thanks for watching.